In a town so quiet it seemed the trees dared not rustle, there stood a library no one visited anymore. It was not because the books weren't interesting, they were, but because something about the place made people uneasy. Not afraid exactly, just cautious, like the way you feel when you sense someone watching you from behind, only to turn and find nothing there. The library was ancient. Stone pillars lined the front, and ivy clawed at the windows like it was trying to peek inside. The brass bell above the door had long since lost its chime. Even the wood floors, polished by decades of footsteps, now creaked only for one person. Her name was Ilara. No one knew much about her. She never spoke in the market, never appeared at town meetings, and never aged, at least not in any way people could notice. Her silver hair was always dyed in a loose braid, and her eyes were the color of overcast skies. She moved like time obeyed her, not the other way around. Most days the townspeople assumed she dusted the books or reorganized the shelves. But those who lived closest to the library swore they saw candlelight flickering in the windows at midnight. Others said they heard soft music or the flutter of wings, though no birds ever perched on the building. One rainy evening, a boy named Milo wandered toward the library. He wasn't looking for stories. He was looking for shelter. Milo was curious, the way all dreamers are. He asked too many questions in class, stayed up late drawing pictures of things that didn't exist, and once spent 3 hours trying to build a flying machine out of paper, string, and spoons. Adults said he was peculiar, but his grandmother said he was filled with wonder. As the rain soaked through his jacket and dripped from his hair, he saw the library door slightly open. A golden light spilled out, warm and inviting. He hesitated. Then, something inside him, something old and quiet, pulled him forward. He stepped in. It was warmer than expected. The scent of old paper, cinnamon, and something like morning dew hung in the air. Candlelight flickered along the shelves, though he couldn't find the candles themselves. "Hello," he whispered. No answer. He wandered deeper. The rows of books were endless. Some covers shimmered when he passed. Others whispered to one another in languages he didn't know. There was no sound of footsteps, only the occasional rustle, like a page turning itself. Then he saw her. Ilara. She stood at the far end of the aisle, holding a small book that glowed gently in her hands. Her head tilted slightly, as though listening to something Milo couldn't hear. She didn't seem surprised to see him. "You're late," she said. Milo blinked. I wasn't coming here. I didn't plan to." Ilara smiled, but not with her mouth, with her eyes. "Most don't. But you felt it, haven't you? The pull?" Milo nodded slowly. "What is this place?" She closed the glowing book and tucked it under her arm. "This is the Library of Lost Dreams." He laughed nervously. "Like daydreams?" "No," she said, stepping closer. "Real ones. Dreams people forget or give up on. They find their way here, eventually." Milo's heart skipped. "Dreams come here. They drift," Ilara said, brushing her fingers against a row of books. "And I collect them. Keep them safe." Milo stared at the shelves. "All of these are dreams. Thousands," she said. "Millions, perhaps. Some as small as wishing to see snow. Others as grand as building cities in the clouds." He reached for a book, but Ilara gently took his hand. "Not yet," she said. "There's something you should see first." She led him to the back of the library, past rows that curved like a maze. Then, behind a velvet curtain, she pressed her palm against a wall that shimmered like a pond. It rippled, then dissolved, revealing a spiral staircase winding downward into soft blue light. Milo hesitated. Alara descended without looking back, her braid swaying gently behind her. The air below smelled sweeter, cooler, like early morning before the sun fully wakes. He followed. Down and down they went, until they reached a massive door, carved from what looked like moonlight and stone. Symbols moved across its surface, shifting like dreams that refused to be pinned down. Alara placed a key, no bigger than a coin, into a small opening. The door sighed open. Behind it was a chamber unlike anything Milo had ever seen. It was vast and silent, and the air shimmered with soft, glowing colors. All around were floating glass bottles, each holding a swirling light inside. Some flickered gently, others pulsed like hearts. A few sat dark, their light long gone. Alara looked at him. "This is the vault," she whispered, "where forgotten dreams sleep." And somewhere, far above them, thunder rolled across the sky. But down here, in the library of lost dreams, the storm could not reach them. Milo stood in the doorway, his eyes wide as they wandered across the glowing orbs sealed in bottles. Each one hovered gently in the air, arranged not by size or shape, but by feeling. Some shelves hummed with warmth. Others whispered cool, melancholy tones. He couldn't understand how, but he sensed it, like the way you know a song is sad, even if it has no words. He took a step forward, and the floor beneath him seemed to welcome his presence, echoing softly with each footfall. The vault was unlike any library he'd known. This wasn't a place for reading. It was a place for remembering. "Alara," he whispered. "How did the dreams get here?" She moved beside him, her voice quiet, as if not to wake the sleeping lights. "When someone gives up on a dream," she said, "or forgets it as they grow older, it begins to fade from their heart. But dreams are stubborn things. They don't vanish. They drift, searching for somewhere safe. And they come here." She nodded. "Some arrive quietly. Others fight their way through fear, disappointment, or time. But if they make it to me, I keep them. I wait, because sometimes their dreamers come back." Milo touched a bottle that shimmered like sunrise on water. Inside was a dream, shaped like a tiny pair of wings, fluttering softly. "Whose dream is this?" he asked. "A little girl who once wished to fly," Alara replied. "She used to build wings from paper and leaves. She stopped after someone told her it was silly. Will she ever come back for it? Maybe," Alara said. "Or maybe someone else will need it one day." Milo turned slowly, his eyes catching on a bottle sitting all by itself, on a pedestal in the middle of the chamber. It was different from the rest, smaller and not as bright, but something about it tugged at him. He stepped toward it. The glass looked cloudy, like it had cried itself foggy. Inside, a small flicker of light pulsed, dim but steady. "What's this one?" he asked. Alara hesitated. Then she walked over, brushing her hand across the pedestal. "This one belongs to you." Milo blinked. "Me?" She nodded. "Long ago you dreamed of something beautiful. You nurtured it, fed it with hope and imagination. But then you forgot." "I don't remember," he said softly. "Most don't," Alara replied. "But dreams do." He reached for the bottle, and as his fingers brushed the glass, a warmth surged through his chest, his mind filled with color, shapes, feelings, images that danced just out of reach. He saw drawings, blueprints, wings made of leaves and ribbon, a great machine soaring above rooftops, a boy with arms outstretched, flying. "I wanted to build an airship," Milo breathed. One that ran on laughter. I used to work on it every afternoon, but then I stopped. Why? I think someone laughed at me, said it was impossible. Alara placed a hand gently on his shoulder. The world is full of voices that doubt, that mock. But here, dreams are protected. They wait until you're ready again. Milo looked down at the glowing bottle in his hands. It felt light as a feather, but heavy with meaning. Can I take it back? Alara studied him. Not yet. A dream reclaimed must be remembered fully and believed in again. That takes courage and time. They walked together down another row of floating bottles. Each dream had its own glow, its own story. A violin made of stars. A golden door with no key. A field where lost things danced in the wind. Do you keep all the dreams? Milo asked. As many as I can, she said. But some are too wild to stay put. They roam. They escape the vault, slip between shelves, drift through the town, the forest, the sea. They find people who need them most. Milo tilted his head. Even if they're not the original dreamer. Alara smiled. Dreams are generous things. They don't care where hope comes from, only that it lives. They stopped in front of a set of glowing steps that led deeper into the chamber. Below, the light pulsed more erratically, like the heartbeat of something restless. What's down there? Milo asked. Alara grew quiet. Not all dreams are peaceful, she said. Some become confused, twisted, especially if they're lost for too long. Like nightmares. Not exactly. Nightmares are dreams in pain. These are dreams that have forgotten what they are. A silence fell between them. Then Alara said, Tomorrow, if you like, I can show you. But for tonight, you should rest. The vault is safe while I'm here. Milo looked once more at the bottle with his forgotten dream, then gently placed it back on the pedestal. It pulsed softly, as if waiting. As Alara led him back up the stairs, he asked, Why do you do this? Why keep all these dreams? She paused. Her eyes drifted upward to the vast ceiling of the chamber. Because dreams, she said softly, are the truest part of who we are. And if we forget them for too long, we forget ourselves. The next morning, Milo awoke in a quiet corner of the library, wrapped in a blanket that smelled faintly of lavender and dust. For a moment, he wondered if it had all been a dream, but then he saw Alara sitting at a nearby table, carefully stitching the spine of an old, golden book. You're awake, she said, without looking up. Did the library sleep well? Milo smiled. Better than I did, Alara chuckled. It takes time to settle. Dreams like to whisper when they know someone new is listening. He rubbed his eyes, then followed her down into the vault once more. This time, she led him beyond the softly glowing bottles to a wide circular platform carved into the stone floor. In the center was a globe, not of earth, but of something else. The surface shimmered with strange lands and shifting skies. As Milo stepped closer, the globe stirred to life, spinning slowly. These are the wandering dreams, Alara said. He peered inside and saw what looked like smoke and color drifting across towns and oceans, slipping into alleyways and forests. Some glowed brightly, others flickered like candles in the wind. They left the vault, Milo asked. Some left, she said. Some were never caught. Others were chased away, too wild, too strange. They roamed the world, looking for minds open enough to receive them. Milo watched as one glowing dream drifted into a small fishing village. It circled above a sleeping child's home, then slipped through the window like a breeze. Inside, the child stirred, and a faint smile appeared on her face. "She's dreaming," Milo whispered. Alara nodded. "A wandering dream found her." "But what if it doesn't find anyone?" he asked. "Then it fades. Or worse, it begins to forget what it is." Just then, the globe shimmered, and a strand of smoke on the edge of the map pulsed with jagged red light. Milo leaned closer. "What's that?" "One of the confused dreams," Alara said. "When a dream wanders too long without being remembered, it begins to change. It becomes frightened or angry. Suddenly, the vault trembled ever so slightly, and a gust of cold wind swept through the room. Alara stiffened. "That's not supposed to happen," she murmured. She turned and moved quickly down a hallway of suspended bottles. Milo followed. As they reached a lower section of the vault, they found a bottle shattered on the floor, its contents spilled like starlight across the stone. Alara knelt, touching the glowing remnants. Her face grew pale. "It escaped," she said softly. "What was it?" Milo asked. She looked at him. "A dream of forgiveness, very old, very powerful." Milo shivered. "Why would it escape?" "Because something out there is disturbing the balance." Alara rose, dusted her hands, and moved toward a nearby alcove. She pulled a scroll from the shelf and unrolled it. The parchment pulsed with light, revealing a trail, a path through forests and hills and cities. "This is where it's gone," she said. "I can't leave the vault." "But you?" Milo stepped back. "Me? Go after it." She turned to him. "You found your way here, Milo. That makes you part of this place now. You still carry your own forgotten dream. That makes you stronger than you know." He hesitated, looking at the swirling light on the scroll. "What do I do if I find it?" "Don't catch it," Alara said. "Call to it. Remind it what it was. Remind it who it belongs to." Milo swallowed. His heart thudded like a drum, half fear, half wonder. "Okay," he whispered. "I'll try." Before he left, Alara handed him a small satchel. Inside was a glass charm shaped like a flame, and a feather from a dream that once flew across the clouds. "These will help," she said. "One to light the way, one to remind you that even lost dreams can soar again." Milo took the bag, held it close, and turned toward the hidden exit beneath the library, a small tunnel lined with soft blue moss. As he stepped into it, the walls shimmered behind him, and the vault grew quiet once more. But far ahead, in the drifting lands of forgotten dreams, something stirred, something that had once been beautiful, and now needed to be found. The tunnel carried Milo upward like a breath being held. Walls shimmered with sleepy moss, and droplets of glowing dew lit his path like stars pressed into stone. After a while, the passage opened into the woods, familiar but now tinged with something otherworldly. The trees whispered and the wind carried echoes of dreams that had once belonged to the world but had since slipped free. Milo held the satchel close. Inside, the glass flame pulsed with a warm glow, and the feather glimmered faintly with every hopeful step he took. He followed the trail shown on the scroll. It began at the edge of the forest, winding through silver-leafed trees and hollow hills. Everywhere he went, he saw signs that a dream had passed through. A sleeping fox curled beneath a floating ribbon of light. A child's drawing stuck high in the branches, glowing faintly. A puddle that rippled with reflections of impossible skies. By the second day, the dream's energy had become wilder. Milo began to feel it pulsing through the earth, not gently like before, but in jagged thumps, as if the dream was afraid or angry. He came upon a village that looked like it had been caught mid-breath. People stood outside their homes in silence. Some blinked rapidly, others stared at nothing, as if something had been pulled from their minds. Milo approached an old woman sitting by a cracked fountain. "Excuse me," he said softly. "Did anything strange pass through here?" She didn't answer immediately. Then she whispered, "I remembered something I tried to forget." Her hands trembled. "A long time ago, I had a chance to say I'm sorry to someone I hurt. I didn't. I buried it. But yesterday I saw their face in my dream. They forgave me, and then it vanished. I woke up crying, Milo's heart clenched. The dream of forgiveness. It had touched her, and then fled again. "Thank you," he said gently. He moved on. By dusk, he reached the edge of a great canyon. The air was colder now. The sky churned in soft spirals of gray and silver. Milo stood still. Across the gorge, high on a cliff's edge, a shadow flickered. It didn't look like a dream anymore. It was larger now, formless, like smoke and storm. The shape pulsed, flared, dimmed. Milo saw faces in it, voices in it. Regret, shame, a swirl of people who had forgotten what it meant to be forgiven. He knew this was the one, the dream of forgiveness. But it had been gone too long. It had soaked up sorrow, disappointment, bitterness. It didn't remember what it once was. He clutched the feather in one hand, the flame in the other. Then he stepped forward and spoke, not loudly, not commandingly, but gently, like calling a friend home. "I remember you." The shadow shifted, twitching like a startled bird. "I know you weren't made to scare people," he said. "You were made to help them heal. You came from hope. You were born from someone who wished they could make things right." The wind picked up. The dream surged toward him, angry, confused. Milo stood firm. "You're not anger. You're not regret. You're the second chance people are afraid to ask for." The glass flame in his palm flared suddenly, casting a warm circle of light around him. "You helped that woman," he continued. "You helped her remember, even if it hurt, even if she cried. That means you still can help. You just forgot what you are." The wind screamed. Then, slowly, it began to hush. The shadows stopped writhing. The storm above softened. The shape shrank. Bit by bit, the smoke unraveled like ribbon in the wind. Light bled through, and then, just for a moment, it became something else. A boy hugging his father, a girl writing a letter with trembling hands, two friends laughing again after years apart. And then, a small, glowing seed hovered before Milo, no bigger than a pebble, soft, warm. He reached out and caught it in his palm. The dream had returned to itself. It remembered. Milo held it close and whispered, "You're safe now." The canyon was silent. The night was calm. He turned to head back toward the library. The glass flame in his satchel glowed brighter now, as if proud. The feather shimmered as though it had flown through something sacred. The dream of forgiveness had been found, and gently reminded. By the time Milo returned to the library, the stars had shifted, and a faint silver mist hovered around the great stone doors. He stood there quietly for a moment, the small glowing seed of the dream still warm in his palm. The doors opened with a sigh, as though the building itself had been waiting for him. Inside, the vault felt different, quieter, not in a sad way, but in the way a person grows quiet when peace settles deep in their chest. Alara met him at the bottom of the steps, her robes brushing the marble floor, like pages turning. "You found it," she said without surprise. Milo nodded and held out the dream. Alara cupped it in both hands. The seed floated just above her palms, turning gently in the air like a golden ember. "Do you know what this means?" she asked. "That it remembered." Alara smiled. "Yes, and that you helped it. That's not easy, you know. Most people fear lost dreams. They turn away, try to forget again." Milo didn't speak for a moment. Alara, it felt alive, like it wanted so badly to be good again, but it didn't know how. She nodded. "Because it reflects us. All dreams do. We give them life. We forget them. And when we return, we teach them how to be whole again." They walked together into the Hall of Shelves, a vast circular room lined from floor to ceiling with arched bookcases. The walls stretched so high into the darkness that Milo couldn't see the top. Ilara approached an empty shelf at the center, carved from pale wood and dusted with gold. She placed the glowing seed gently onto a silk pillow, resting on the shelf. As soon as it touched the fabric, the seed burst softly into a delicate blossom of light. Threads of golden ink wrote themselves into the air. Dream of forgiveness. Lost for 87 years. Remembered by Milo Thorne. Restored to the world. Milo read the inscription slowly. His chest swelled with something he couldn't name. "All the shells," he whispered. "Are these?" "Yes," Ilara said. "Every dream that has ever returned. Some took centuries, others were never found. But those that remember, get a place here." She walked to another shelf and touched a small vial of soft blue light. "This one," she said, "is the dream of laughter without fear. It was buried after a child lost their voice in war. A traveler found it again when they learned how to make an orphaned village laugh. It returned here." Milo felt like he was standing in the middle of a sky full of stars, each one a light someone once lost and then reclaimed. "Why are they kept here?" he asked. "Because," she said, "dreams that are remembered need to be watched over. They are fragile even after they return. And because one day others may forget again, and someone, perhaps even you, will need to remind them." He followed her through the shelves for hours, each one revealing a different kind of dream. The dream of speaking one's truth. The dream of returning home. The dream of being seen. Some of them flickered like small lanterns, others glowed brightly. A few were dim, barely lit. "These ones?" Milo asked, pointing to the fading dreams. "They're close to being forgotten again," Ilara said softly. "Not because of neglect, but because people are afraid to believe in them anymore." Milo reached out gently toward one, the dream of being loved as you are. His fingers brushed the glass, and for a moment, the light inside brightened. "It remembered you," Ilara said, surprised. Milo lowered his hand. I think I forgot that one too." She looked at him kindly. "Then perhaps you'll help restore it one day." They stopped in front of a shelf that stood slightly apart from the rest. It was blank, empty. Ilara turned to him. "This one is yours." Milo blinked. "Mine?" She nodded. "You brought back a dream. You reminded it of its purpose. But more than that, you carried your own lost dream into the world without even knowing it. And that is what makes a librarian." Milo looked at the shelf. It felt impossibly strange to imagine that something of him, something real and quiet and secret, could belong here. He whispered, "But I don't even remember my own dream." "You will," she said gently. "When the time is right. When you're ready to believe in it again." The feather in his satchel stirred as if it too remembered something. The hall of shelves glowed softly around them. and for the first time, Milo felt that he was exactly where he belonged, not because he was brave or special, but because he had dared to follow something forgotten, something others might have abandoned, and that made all the difference. The days that followed passed gently, like pages in a well-loved book. Milo now woke each morning in the Tower of Echoes, high above the vault, where the wind played lullabies through glass chimes. He had a room of his own, filled with soft lamplight, worn blankets, and a desk where old scrolls waited patiently to be read. The windows looked out over a land most people never saw, the quiet world of dreams that stirred beneath the waking one. Each day, he walked the marble halls with Alara, learning the ancient art of dream-keeping. She showed him how to listen, not with his ears but with his heart, to the sighs of forgotten dreams, how to read the invisible ink that danced on the backs of leaves and drifted through the air like the dust of memory. They studied dreams of all kinds, some small like the dream of learning to swim, which shimmered like sunlight on water, some vast and trembling, like the dream of peace between enemies, stored inside a crystal so large it needed its own wing of the vault. But not all their time was spent inside. Sometimes, Alara would hand Milo a satchel and say only, "It's time," and together they would step into the world, following the soft trails left by dreams on the brink of vanishing. Sometimes they walked through silent cities or mossy mountains, sometimes through memories disguised as towns, sometimes through fields where shadows whispered secrets to the flowers. One evening, as the stars stretched themselves across the velvet sky, Milo sat on the library steps watching the moons rise. He held the feather Alara had given him on his first day. It still shimmered with gentle light, but lately it had begun to change. Faint patterns of gold had appeared along its spine, and when he held it to his ear, he thought he could hear something faint, a breath, a beat, or maybe a voice trying to remember a song. He heard footsteps behind him and turned. It was Alara. She sat beside him in silence, then said, "You've been wondering, haven't you?" Milo nodded. "About the feather, about the dream I lost. I feel like it's close, like it's almost remembering itself." Alara smiled, but her eyes were far away. "When I was young, I carried a feather just like yours. It turned gold when I helped a dream of courage find its way back to a child who had been silent for years. After that, I began to remember something I had buried so deep. I thought it was gone forever." "What was it?" Milo asked. "My own voice," she said. "I had once dreamed of speaking for those who couldn't. I'd lost it after something terrible, but the dream found me again." She reached into her sleeve and pulled out a small pendant. Inside was a single golden feather, almost identical to Milo's. "Our dreams don't disappear," she said. "They just go quiet. Sometimes they wait in the shadow of other people's dreams, hoping someone brave enough will call them home." Milo looked at his feather again. "I don't know how to call it," he whispered. "You already are," she said softly. "You just don't recognize your own voice yet." That night, as he lay in his room, he couldn't sleep. The air buzzed faintly, as if something unseen was moving. He sat up and reached for the feather again. This time, when he held it in both hands, it grew warm. A light flickered along its edge, faint but growing. Then he heard it, a voice, his own, but younger, faint. "I want to help people remember what they used to love." His breath caught. Another voice, older now, steadier, but still him. I don't want to be important. I just want to make something good. Stay. The feather glowed brighter. Suddenly, a rush of memories flooded him. A small boy standing under a tree, drawing pictures of things no one else could see. A dream he once had of becoming a storyteller, not to be known, but to help people feel known. He remembered writing his first story on the back of a cereal box because he had no paper. He remembered the moment he believed it wasn't enough, that no one cared, that it was silly, and so he had let it go. But it had never let go of him. Now it whispered back, "You are still the boy under the tree." Tears welled in Milo's eyes. He clutched the feather tightly as it blazed gold in his hands. In the silence that followed, he smiled, because he knew he had found it, his lost dream. The next morning, the vault of dreams greeted the dawn with a hush of golden light. Every pane of glass, every polished stone, seemed to hold its breath, like the library itself knew something had changed. Milo stood before the hall of shelves, the golden feather in his hand now pulsing gently with warmth. Alara waited beside him, eyes bright but quiet, as though she didn't need to ask what had happened. "I remembered," Milo said, his voice steady. "Not all at once, but enough." Alara nodded. "Then it's time." They walked together into a part of the library Milo had never seen before. The halls narrowed, the light dimmed, not with gloom, but with reverence, like the hush of a cathedral. These shelves were different, carved with symbols and old languages Milo didn't know, but somehow understood. They whispered of stories long hidden, of truths buried under centuries of silence. At the end of the corridor stood a single pedestal. It was made of glass and stone, wrapped in silver vines that shimmered with threads of starlight. And above it hovered a space, empty, waiting. Milo stepped forward, heart racing. He lifted the feather with both hands, then slowly released it into the air. It did not fall. It rose, softly, gracefully. It floated above the pedestal and burst into light, not a flash, but a bloom, like a sunrise held inside a single breath. From that light emerged a small, glowing shape, not a seed, not a crystal, a book, bound in midnight blue. Its cover shimmered with constellations, its spine etched with words that hadn't been spoken aloud in years. The dream that stayed. Milo stared. "It was always a story," he said softly. "I just forgot to tell it." Alara stepped forward and touched the book gently. It opened on its own, and golden ink began to write itself across the pages. Dream of the quiet storyteller, lost in doubt, restored in silence, carried by Milo Thorne, to remind the world that forgotten dreams can still speak. Milo felt something settle inside him. Not an end, but a beginning, a door opening. He turned to Alara. "So, what happens now?" "You write," she said, smiling. "You remember. You carry dreams, not just here in the vault, but out there, where they're needed." "Will I always be able to hear them?" he asked. "Yes," she said, "because you listened when no one else did. And once a librarian hears the voice of a lost dream, they never forget the sound again." As they left the pedestal behind, the book remained suspended in its place, its pages gently turning even with no wind. Outside the vault, the world shimmered in soft gold. The sun had risen fully now, brushing the trees and hills with warmth. The Tower of Echoes stood tall above the mist, a silent sentinel watching over the dreamers of the world. That evening, Milo sat in his room by the window, the golden feather now resting inside the first page of his journal. he opened a new page and began to write, not because he had to, but because he couldn't help it. He wrote about the whispering leaves, the halls of sleeping stories, the dreams that called out in silence, and the way even forgotten things longed to return home. He wrote about a boy who had once believed he was too small to matter, and he wrote about how wrong that boy had been, because the smallest stories told with love could change everything. Outside, the stars blinked into view. Somewhere in the shelves, a dream stirred. Somewhere in a village, a girl whispered to herself that maybe her ideas weren't so silly after all. Somewhere in the quiet, a boy picked up a pencil, and somewhere far away, a single word drifted gently into the world. Remember.